Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Storyville podcast with Anita Kingsley. So, today we'll be reading chapter 4. I hope you've been enjoying the story so far. I mean, it's getting more intense by the day. All right, so let's continue. Let's find out what happens in today's chapter. So, it was clear now that the prophet was real and she had his little sister. Where was she taken to? Joe had no idea. He was so upset now. He could feel all the hairs on his body stand up in rage. His heart was beating so fast and skipping some beats at the same time. What was that? Tim asked, interrupting Joe's thoughts. What was what? Joe fired back, wanting to be sure what Tim was asking. Had it seen it too? Was he finally not the only one who could see her? That thing that took Emily? Tim screamed. You saw it too? Of course I saw it. Tim was standing above Uncle Ryan, who was badly hurt but still alive. The strange girl was calm, now like something or someone had drained the life out of her. She was lying flat on the couch. It was hard to tell if she was alive or not. Tim did not want to go close to her. He was worried about what he had seen and what was happening to his uncle. He had seen a very tall, lean, and cloaked figure glide past the back of the couch on which the strange girl lay and disappear before his own eyes. It had his little sister Emily. He saw her teary face staring at Joe right before the figure disappeared. Everything was confusing at this point. He didn't know what was going on or how to react. He was hoping it was all a dream. That's no what, Tim. That's a who. That's the prophet. The one I told you I saw outside from my window a few hours ago. She killed Eddie. I saw it happen. I know she had something to do with mom and dad's accident and this little girl lying here on the couch. I don't know why all of this is happening, Tim, but I'm so glad I'm not alone anymore, Joe explained with a tear finally rolling down his eyes. Tim could not make any sense of what his baby brother was saying, but it didn't matter. None of this made sense anyway. How was it possible that a 12-year-old girl would toss a full-grown man across the room like some ragdoll? Even Eddie's death was still a mystery till this moment. To top it up, he had seen something or someone take his sister away with his own eyes. Sure, something was wrong. There was some kind of spiritual force responsible for the events of the past few days. He moved to his brother and hugged him tight. Joe was such a strong kid and almost never cried. This was strange. It's gonna be okay, Joe. We'll figure this out, Tim said, still holding his brother. Joe? The voice was faint. It was Uncle Ryan calling out to Joe. Yes, he was still alive, but didn't look so good. The rains kept pouring outside and the thunderstorms ever so loud and frightening. The lights in the house were stable now. You could see how much damage was done from the micro earthquake they had experienced earlier. Joe and Tim were snapped back to reality now by the call from their uncle. They both rushed to his side, ignoring the girl who was beginning to move now. Are you okay, Uncle? Joe asked as he lifted Ryan's head from the floor and into his arms. I'm okay, kiddo, said Uncle Ryan. You both have to find your sister. Don't let them have her. What was he hearing? Joe thought to himself. Did this mean Uncle Ryan had seen the prophet too? Who was this them he was referring to? Who was her? Tim asked impulsively. Who has her? Tim asked impulsively. Ryan continued to speak. You should have told me, Joe. Or rather, I should have known. What are you talking about? Joe asked curiously. She wants you gone, Joe. The prophet. She will stop at nothing until you're gone. There's no time, Joe. The both of you have to work together. Take the girl to your mom in the hospital. There is a lot we should have told you. I just wish we had more time, Joe. I don't understand, Joe said, with his voice still very shaky. But there was no response from Ryan. Ryan was still, his eyes were opened, but they had no life in them. For some reason, Joe knew he had to be brave. He knew they had to follow Uncle Ryan's instructions. He looked up at him. He looked perplexed. He was looking down at him and his uncle. Joe stood and moved to the girl, who was now sitting on the chair. "Who are you?" Joe asked, hoping to somehow get an answer from the girl, even though it had been established that the girl did not speak or understand English. She looked at him, and saying nothing, she pointed to a picture frame that was lying on the floor, broken amidst the debris from the micro-earthquake they had experienced some minutes ago. It was behind Joe. It was a picture of Mom. It was one of her favorite portraits. It was a picture she took years ago when she was only 15 years old. It wasn't a very pretty picture, and Joe sometimes had wondered why she loved it so much as to frame it and hang it on the wall in the center of the living room. He wondered why the girl was pointing to that particular portrait in the midst of the other portraits scattered on the floor around the house. He picked up the picture and looked at it. He wondered what he was supposed to be seeing. In the photo, Mom had on a white dress. She was standing by a lake and was not smiling. She looked very pale and had a tired expression on her face. There was nothing curious about that. Joe went ahead to remove the picture from the frame since the glass frame was already broken. He turned the picture to the back, and that was when he saw it. At the back of the picture of Mom was another picture of teenage Mom and this very girl sitting on the couch. Wow. Doesn't the story just get more interesting? Alright, guys. Thank you for listening. Like I've said before in the other episodes, this story is freshly written by Horace McCauley, and he writes each chapter and we are reading each chapter. I'm very sure you're enjoying the story. Do well to comment your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen? How do you predict the story is going to end? Let me hear from you. All right, this is the Storyville podcast with Anita Kingsley. Anticipate chapter 5.